Hey guys, how you all doing? And welcome to my first ever review for a video game. I know that might sound weird, but I've just never done reviews of video games because I never felt like I could do a very good one. But I am going to start doing reviews on this channel, and I'm going to keep them a bit on the shorter end, so that way you can find out if the game's good in less time, so you can spend more time playing it. But with that being said, let's get into this review. So the PS1 had about 1,300 games released in North America, so it's no surprise that I and many other people missed out on a lot of these games. Especially someone like me who played mainly shovelware and sports games. Was it really my fault though? I was just a kid who saw Shrek Treasure Hunt in the aisle at the store and said, hey, this has got to be better than Final Fantasy VII. I've heard of Shrek, I've never heard of Final Fantasy. And based off of the games I liked as a kid, I probably wouldn't have liked Final Fantasy VII. And that left me thinking, maybe it's better that I missed out on all these classics as a kid. So that way, I can appreciate them as an adult. Because if I wouldn't have liked Final Fantasy VII as a kid, I may not have ever revisited it, but since I just didn't play it, now I'll play it. You know what I mean? But we're not here to talk about Final Fantasy VII, we are here to talk about a classic PS1 game that I missed out on called Ape Escape. And Ape Escape came out May 31st, 1999 in North America, so it's coming up on its 23-year anniversary. So why not celebrate and give it its first playthrough in 2022? Well, that's exactly what I did. So join me for a completionist style ripoff video where I talk about my experience with beating Ape Escape for the first time. And no, I did not 100% it. That's not really my style, so I'm sorry if that bothers you. One of the first things I want to talk about is how this game looks, the visual appeal. While gameplay will always matter a lot more than how a game looks, it really helps when the game is not an eyesore to look at. There's definitely some games you can look at and think, man, this game does not look very good. But that doesn't mean it's bad. But that's certainly not the case with Ape Escape, because it is not an eyesore. I think this game is beautiful. I think the overall aesthetic of the game is bright and colorful and happy. And even when you're into the bad guys territory, it's still bright and colorful. And I think that's pretty cool. Now I do want to say, I love how PS1 games look. I love the graphical style of PS1 games. And I know some people look at the PS1 graphics and they find them ugly, jagged, old, and yeah, they kinda are. But that is the charm to me, after all, so I'm okay with that. And for the sake of time, I'm gonna throw character design in here. The designs are pretty cliche, with the bad guy having white spiky hair, an eye patch, and a evil cherry floats around on. While the good guys and girls, they're just average, bright looking, happy-go-lucky characters. It's very easy to see who's on the evil side and who's on the good side. And I do like that. Simple is good. Now what about the plot and story behind Ape Escape? Well, the story begins when Spectre, who's a white-haired monkey, he puts on a monkey point helmet created by a professor, and it increases his intelligence beyond that of a regular monkey. But since it was only a prototype, it also twists his mind and turns him evil. But with his new power, Spectre gives monkey helmets to all the monkeys in the park, and he sets them loose. He has them take over the local laboratory where the professor and his assistant Natalie are currently building a time machine. As Spike and his best friend Jake arrive at the laboratory, they find themselves transported by Spectre, along with all the other monkeys. They get transported to various points in time, and realizing that the monkeys left to their own devices could rewrite history in disastrous ways, the professor tasks Spike with finding all the monkeys scattered across time and sending them back to the present. Trust me, you don't want those monkeys controlling the future. Now what about the controls and the feel and the gameplay of the game, because this is an older game, so sometimes controls can be clunky and gameplay can be stale. Well, Ape Escape is a 3D platformer that will have you capturing monkeys, gathering coins, traversing through jungle gyms that are the world, and most importantly, eating those cookies. Fun little fact also, Ape Escape was the first game that required the dual analog stick PS1 controllers. And for it being the first game that required it, it controls like a dream. Not once was I finding myself getting frustrated at the controls or the feel of the game. And using the gadgets was flawless, which is very important because you spend the whole game using the gadgets, of course, so they have to feel pretty good. I'd say the only small complaint I have is the camera control, but it does have a recenter button, so that pretty much solves that issue. Because I would just point the character where I wanted to go, hit, I believe it was L1, and it just recentered, and bam, I was behind my character. And so I was just kind of spamming the L1 button repeatedly, just keeping the camera where I wanted it to. So, you know, simple fix. And the 3D platforming is really good in this game. It's really fun. Since it controls well, by default, the 3D platforming is good. The level designs are very simple. They're not headaches to get through. Simple puzzles to solve, jumps to make, and you use the gadgets to help you through them. The one kind of weird thing is that there's fall damage. I've always thought fall damage in a 3D platformer is a little weird, but it's way more weird in 2D platformers, so maybe it gets a pass. And once you're thrown into a level, you're pretty much told, hey, go capture 6 monkeys out of the 12 that are on the world, and once you capture all 6, well, you're out of the level. You're done. You beat it. And you might be thinking, well, if you capture 6 and you're done, but you said there's 12 in this level, then what gives, you know? Well, the way this game works is once you finish a level, you can go back in and clean up the level. Get the monkeys you missed, get the gold coins you missed. And yeah, I haven't talked about gold coins, so let me talk about this. So there's these gold coins scattered around each level, and it will tell you how many are in each level, so don't worry about that. But you can use these gold coins to unlock these mini games that are in the hub world. And I think that's really cool. I think games that, you know, they should incentivize a reason to go get the optional collectibles. So, you know, thank God it does that. So even after beating the game, you can go back into each level, get all the monkeys, get all the gold coins. And I think that's really cool because that means beating the game is only half of it. And there's plenty to do afterwards. And that makes a good 3D platforming collectathon type game. I believe there's 8 different gadgets as well that will help you throughout each level. So if you're ever in a level and think, man, I can't get up to that coin or I can't get to that monkey, just know you'll get a gadget that will let you get up there or, you know, get wherever you need to. So don't feel left in the dark. The gadgets will guide you to the path to success, and it's a lot of fun to use them. My personal favorite gadget being the RC car. I mean, come on. That's just a load of fun. Now, what about the difficulty? Is Ape Escape a difficult game? Well, honestly, I would say Ape Escape's a bit more on the easy side. And let me say this. An easy game is not a bad game by any means. It was actually a blast playing through this game, and I think it's because it was kind of more on the easier side for me. Though the last level may have had me struggling, we don't talk about that. I decided to look up what other people thought about the difficulty, and most people said the difficulty was just right. And I don't disagree. Even though I said it's on the easier side, that is because I just got done beating Elden Ring, so kind of anything feels a bit easier at the moment, you know what I mean? The one thing I read online that I thought was pretty funny is a lot of people were saying it can be very frustrating just trying to catch one certain monkey that's running around. But instead of getting frustrated, I would just scan the monkey, find out what its name is, and then yell its name while I chased it like a fool, and it made for a good time regardless of how slippery the little bastard was. I recommend doing the same. Just yell at the monkey. Now, I'm keeping this review kind of on the shorter side, so let's get into how did I feel about the game? What do I rate it out of 10? Well, the way I'm going to rate these games is first I'm going to talk about the Metascore and see if I agree with the Metascore, you know? See where the average person or the general consensus of the game is versus where I fall on that scale. Now we get to what do I give it out of 10? Trying to keep these reviews short like we said, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of how do I feel, what's the score? Well, in these reviews, the way I want to do it is I want to compare my score to the Metascore. So first I want to talk about what is the Metascore? What's the general consensus about Ape Escape? Well, it got a Metacritic score of 9 out of 10. That is a near perfect game. 9 out of 10 is not a rating to laugh at. That's a seriously great rating. Now, before I play a game, I try to avoid the Metascore numbers because I don't want it to persuade my overall real thoughts on the game. But of course, through the grapevine, I'm going to hear if games are good or not, and especially big name games such as Ape Escape. But regardless of the positive praise I've heard about the game over the years, I'm just now playing it in 2022. So does it hold up? Well, after beating Ape Escape for the first time nearly 23 years after it released, I give it a rating of 8.5 out of 10. That's close enough to a 9, right? Regardless, I think this game is a load of fun, and if you can find a copy of it for yourself, I would grab it without hesitation. And if you've already played it and beat it, let me know what you thought. Anyway, thanks for watching the first review style video I've done on the channel, and if you liked it, please let me know so I can keep making them. And let me know what you thought of Ape Escape if you've ever played it. And if you haven't played it, have you decided that maybe you want to go pick it up after watching this review? Because I would love to know. Anyway, till next time, take it easy.